Hi there, Greg at amREADY here. The purpose of this video is just to cover off some of the things that I've done to my F-150 Raptor to make it more comfortable or usable for me as a daily. So I also take it on road trips, and I take it camping, sometimes for extended trips. Some people call it overlanding. I'm not really a fan of the word, so call it whatever you want. So if you have your SUV or pickup or Jeep, some of these modifications might be relevant to you. If you have an F-150, one of the trim levels, some of these modifications, or probably more of these modifications, will be relevant to you. And if you've got a Gen 2 Raptor, then that's probably the best fit in terms of some of these modifications. And, you know, they might work for me. I'm not suggesting that you need to do any of these, but I'll give you my impressions. And you know what? If it's helpful, awesome. I'll put some links to some of the products down below, and we'll just go from there. So starting from the cockpit, I have used all 6 of the Upfitter switches, and I'll cover that in a little bit. But let's see what I can do here. So just starting here, I put in a dash cam, and it's not the most expensive one, and it's not the cheapest one. It gives good quality, both front and back, and I also have hardwired it into my battery so that it takes some footage while I'm parked. I did the Built Right dash, and this thing is like super solid. I put my phone on there, the GPS, sometimes the GoPro, and yeah, just really happy with it. While I was there, I put in a outlet that is attached to my auxiliary battery when I'm running the auxiliary battery, and I can bypass that just to run off my main battery. That one's always hot, so that if I'm camping for an extended period, I don't have to keep turning the truck on to get access to the accessory power. But then you just need to sort of pay attention to it. I do have a low voltage disconnect connected to the auxiliary battery so that I don't drain it by mistake. The other little thing that I've done is this guy on Etsy makes these, and they don't show up in the light right now, but they light up. I'll put a photo in the video just so you can see what they look like. And he does some generic Ford and Raptor ones, and then he also does custom work as well. That's about it. Oh, I guess I got a Rappi Graphics decal there. And we've got a VHF radio and my sender for my cooler, my ARB cooler. And that gives me the temperature inside the cooler. I can turn it on and off, and I can also see the voltage on my auxiliary battery. While I was doing the electrical, I put in 2 outlets that are connected to my auxiliary battery, and then I've got my outlet that is connected to the main battery, but that goes off after 15 minutes when I park. So I wanted the option to charge some stuff when I was camping and not have to just keep turning the power on and off for those 15-minute chunks. Over here, I wired in to my main battery, not my auxiliary battery, 2 outlets. And the reason I did that is so that I could run a little solar panel just to the inside of the windshield or outside if I want. And that way I can keep my main battery topped up and not have to worry about that. On these new vehicles, there's all kinds of things that drain your battery. The burglar alarm or car alarm, the all kinds of sensors and that kind of thing. So coming out here, so there's the antenna for the VHF, sorry. And I've marked it at the height for my cab and the height when I'm running the tent, just as a little feeler. I've got the Baja Designs Squadron R. And I guess those don't come off in the wind. They're just a driving combo light. They're not crazy bright. They definitely punch out further than my high beams, and they are a lot wider, so they kind of operate as a bit of a ditch light as well. I've been happy with them. I can always upgrade them if I want. And this thing is like solid. Got my patented little rubber mat that I've cemented on there, and that keeps all the rocks and gravel from going up on the paint. And they go and they hit right about there. So it makes a huge difference. I've also got the Husky Liner mud flaps. They're kind of just functional. They do look fairly OEM, but I'm not crazy about them. They just keep some of the muck down. I haven't done the bumper. The bumper would require the getting into the adaptive cruise control, radar, the intercooler, probably a intercooler upgrade and relocate. So I haven't touched that yet. Stubby antenna. I haven't noticed any real loss of signal. I got one of the better ones, and just lower profile. And sometimes when I'm not using the VHF radio, I'll just put a cap on that. So I've got the Retrax XR Pro. On balance, I've been happy with it. It does leak a little bit, and I kind of knew that going in. This wiring here goes up to the back, and right now I'm just running these cheap lights. I really wasn't sure what I would use in terms of a side flood or spotlight or scene lighting when I was camping. So I just tacked on some cheap ones for now, and I'll decide what I'm gonna do later. This is the Yakima Overhaul HD. Right now I've got it on its lowest setting. It's 18 inches off the deck, about 18 and a half to here, and you can adjust it up to be about 30 inches, I believe. The XR Pro, you can put about, I think it's 300, 400, maybe even 500 pounds of dispersed weight on here. I haven't really done that You know, if you are climbing up there and you do put a foot down, it's not the end of the world, so that's good. And I know I have that storage capacity if I want to put a bag on there or whatever. I went with the S1 reverse lights. They weren't too hard to put in. I did not wire them to my reverse light because they would blind people in the suburbs or downtown. So I just control them with one of my Upfitter switches. The beaver step is definitely been great. It helps for people that are parking by braille. It's a good disincentive, and it helps me not drag the tail and screw up my spare tire when I'm going down things and I don't have that departure angle. So the Raptor comes with the step. I've been really happy with it. I wasn't sure if it would be a gimmick. I never use the stripper pole. I just climb up and down. I'm not too mobility challenged, despite my advanced age. But yeah, it just makes it nice. So the bed rug. I'm really happy with the bed rug. I wasn't sure what the sort of carpeting would be like. The 6 bed bolts, I put these brackets on. And I've been really happy with that system for cargo management. The XR Pro takes up a ton of space on the inside, so that's definitely a consideration, huge consideration for this type of tonneau. I really wanted the Diamondback, but for running the rooftop tent, it just would have been, well, basically you just don't get access to being able to open and close because they fold up. There's lots of different ways to do the rack system with the tonneau, and this is pretty tight and sort of professional looking. It's problem with these adapter brackets on the overhaul is they take a 300-pound off-road capacity and they drop it down to 180. But this thing is aluminum anyway, so I'm kind of at the top end of what this system would be rated for, but so far it's been rock solid. So I've just got a whole bunch of, probably looks pretty hokey, just a bunch of random straps. I usually carry water in here, and my recovery tools go in here. And the random straps just helps me kind of lock everything down. Over here is the auxiliary battery. So you can see it in there. I've got the BCDC 1225D. That's by Redarc. So that means it provides 25 amps to my AGM battery at max. And the reason this looks like the dog's breakfast is because this is all, I can take this all out and I can service it in the field. I can troubleshoot it. I can take this, I'll do a separate video on the electrical, but I can take my power pole, my Anderson connector, and just connect it straight from my main battery to all my accessories instead of this. So I can take this out and the system still works. But It looks kind of goofy, but it works for me, and it's all properly fused and everything. And you might be wondering what this is. So that might be the goofiest looking thing in the world. I need a better system for this, but that's my positive and negative. And then I can connect my solar panel to that, and I can connect my compressor to that. And I can just run it out the back here. And that's just worked awesome for me. So, yep, mock me in the comments, but it works. And I can take it off as well. I don't need it all dangling there all the time. Okay, so here in the back seat, I've got various trauma packs and first aid kits. You can never really have enough of that. Fire extinguishers, little trauma pack there. Forgive the mess. So I've got tool bags. This is my main tool roll here, and a towel. A cutter for someone's in an accident. You can cut the battery terminal or etc. So this is where I've got my main fuse panel that comes in from that auxiliary battery, and I don't know if you can see it there, but the low voltage disconnect and some spare fuses, and the auxiliary battery is connected to also to those outlets when I run my cooler on the inside here. That way the passengers don't need to give up their outlet. Tire deflator and air pressure. That's just the stock inverter, various flagging tape. I won't get into that. Most of my gear is out of here right now. And right now I just went with this relatively cheap seat back cover. I've got a few things here, but basically just for the backseat passengers, just to be able to square away their gear. I don't really store too much stuff in here. Sunscreen and bug juice and things like that. Most of my gear is in my other system. Oh, and yeah, the under seat storage, that's just nice and tight. And you might be looking at this and wondering what I got going on here. But yeah, so I just drilled some holes through it, and it just connects like that. I hate things rattling, so the fact that it's about the only thing that bungee cords are good for. And then sometimes I'll have something in here that's valuable, so I just lock it up with a bike lock there, and that's that. And same thing in the back. I've got some places that I can lock things to as well. One thing I did neglect to mention is these flat panels. I mean, they look like they're from the factory. There's like a cheesy, smooth plastic, shiny plastic piece on here from the factory, and I went to Raptor Graphics and got these, and they had like carbon fiber and ones with the little Raptor scratch in them, and I just went with the flat black, and I've been really happy with them. And I wasn't sure if they'd peel off or anything, but they've been really good. So under the hood, pretty much everything is stock. This sort of my wiring for the lights, and I added a rock light up here that is on my Upfitter. So I've got rock lights on the four corners. I was just finding that it can get pretty dark up here in BC early on in the year, and I found it really helpful actually to park and not so much that I was doing four-wheeling at night, but mostly trying to get set up and camp and that kind of thing. Since I'm boondocking or just out in the wilds, some of the places I was parking that I just had a hard time seeing under the wheels. Anyway, so I added the fifth one, which was right here, and then I can just flick that on from the Upfitter switch, and then I've got some light in the engine bay. So there's a whole bunch of tags on here about what I did with the wiring, and again, user serviceability in the field and understandability is critical. So everything's labeled and fused and all that stuff. So that's about it. Those are the main fuses for the 6-gauge wire that goes out to the back. One's just a spare fuse for another project that I've got lined up, and then the main fuse, the 40 ampere that goes to the back through the 6-gauge wire. And the nice thing about that BC-DC is it isolates your main battery, so you don't sewer that inadvertently while you're out camping. I think everything else, I haven't touched the suspension or the engine or transmission or wheels and tires. Just left everything stock and just running it the way it is. I might do the suspension at some point here. That's about it. So the first one is drive. That's just my driving lights. Second one is just a trigger. It's a trigger for my dash cam and for the battery charger that I'm powered off, and I just ran it as my second Upfitter. I was having a hard time figuring out which circuit was a true power off when I turned the truck off. Some of them have delayed, some of them run some latent voltage through them, so I just ran it through the Upfitter for now. Left and right floodlight, I just put the rock lights on, and then my rear backup lights. So it's not exactly easy to see in the daylight, but it's that's just my under hood light, and then that is just on at the same time as my rock lights. And I'm not trying to be some kid with his lowered car and his goofy lights. Just pure function for me. So, I mean, although I've put a lot of time into it, one of the things that I really wanted to do with these changes or these accessories and those kinds of things, just kind of keep them sort of low impact, not really cut the truck up too much, and make them easy to work on in the field or fix or diagnose, and then and kind of make it modular, just so that if one part of the system goes down, the whole system goes down, doesn't go down. So anyway, that's about it. I hope this is helpful. I'll take a little bit more. I'll just take a picture from the back. I mean, from up top, and we'll call that a video. It's hard to get perspective on the Raptors sometimes. They sort of have weird styling that way. Sometimes they look huge, and sometimes it just looks normal. But that's it there.